I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? All right. It's like this. 1 year ago today, Stanton Friedman left this earth to investigate another universe. And yes, he's out there. He's out there somewhere causing trouble. Stan, I know you're listening, smiling, and getting it done. You are missed every single day. Now, tonight, we have very special guest. Jim Penniston is here. He joins us to talk about all of that recent Rendlesham news that is going around. We're going to talk about his new book, The Rendlesham Enigma. We're going to go start to finish, top to bottom, end to end tonight with Jim Penniston. Tomorrow night is another Fader night. Open lines all night long. What a great week it has been here on Fade to Black. And to wind things up on a Wednesday night with Jim Penniston, it makes tonight very, very special. So stay with us. And there you go. Now, we have some issues going on with video. I will leave that to Drew and Rita to get sussed out, and there you go. We are going to continue with the show. So, that being said, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, at JChurchRadio. The sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. And it's going to be a very important show tonight. I know that all of you want to get engaged. You can do that over in our chat rooms over at Spreaker, over at KGRA The Planet, certainly on Twitter in the sandbox with hashtag F2B. If you have any questions or comments tonight during the program, you can use hashtag F2BQ for Fade to Black questions, and you can also email me directly, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Okay? All right, let's get a few things out of the way. We got a lot to talk about tonight. I want you to get your immune system boosted. Get it where it needs to be. Just visit getthet.com. Use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R, and you will get free shipping on all orders over $50. Getthet.com. The banners are at jimmychurchradio.com. And I also want you to sign up for Billy Carson's new internet TV network, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Okay, now when you go and register, you will get a 3-day free trial. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. The banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. I want to thank everybody for supporting River Moon Coffee, a sponsor that has been with us, all of our sponsors, for so many years. Okay, we've got two banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. One takes you to the Amazon Marketplace, and the other one is to their website, River Moon Coffee. The promo codes to use are in those banners. Go and check it out. And you've got to try our new Game Changer blend. It's absolutely amazing. Let's get to the breaking news. It was announced today that the commander of the 21st Space Wing, headquartered at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado, has died. Colonel Thomas G. Falzarano, this is the thing, Falzarano was found at his home today. Very strange. Now, Colonel Falzarano took command of the 21st Space Wing back in July of 2019. He was poised to be one of the top officers in the new United States Space Force. Colonel Sam Johnson will now assume command. You don't know how he died? He was just found dead in his home. Okay? No foul play is suspected, as was announced, but they are investigating his death. And as we find out more, I will report it right here on Fade to Black. Also announced today, researchers have found a super-Earth exoplanet they describe as 1 in a million. Now, this was found in deep space. The newly discovered exoplanet, and its name is OGLE, OGLE, 2018 BLG 0677, is one of only a handful that have been discovered that has both a size and orbit similar to Earth. It takes about 617 days to orbit its host star, one that is believed to have just 10% of the mass of our sun. The team used telescopes in Chile, South Korea, Australia, and South Africa, known collectively as KTM-NET. The KTM-NET telescopes are equipped with large cameras, which the team uses to measure the light output from around 100 million stars every 15 minutes. That's called the Optical Gravitational Lensing Experiment, otherwise known as OGLE. More than 8,000 exoplanets have been found as of April 2020, and in early March, an astronomy student from the University of British Columbia discovered 17 new exoplanets, including one, KIC 7340288b, that is also roughly the same size as Earth. Another recently discovered exoplanet, K218b, is also potentially habitable and is just 124 light years from Earth. It's in the habitable zone around its star and liquid water at habitable conditions beneath its hydrogen-rich atmosphere. Very exciting news. 8,000 exoplanets so far. And that number, scanning 100 million stars every 15 minutes. It's absolutely incredible. Well, it sort of got resolved today because after a heated back and forth, Tesla and officials from Alameda County, California, have reached a deal to allow the company's factory to reopen. The factory, based up in Fremont, California, near San Francisco, will be able to reopen this Monday, as long as it follows strict health and safety protocols. The plant, Tesla's only one in the United States, by the way, was initially planned to reopen in early May when California's lockdown protocols were set to lift. Well, all of that changed this week. When these rules were extended, CEO Elon Musk made a very public stink on Twitter about the situation and said that he was opening 2 days ago on Monday. He was going to be on the line in the plant, and if anybody was getting arrested, he should be arrested. And he also said that he was going to threaten and move the plant out of California. Now, as of today, neither Musk nor Tesla issued a comment on the situation following this announcement. Now, as recently as this morning, the Fremont factory's employee parking lot is full, completely packed with cars. There you go. The StarWorks UFOs and Artificial Intelligence Conference up in Laughlin, Nevada, November 5th through the 8th is still on, and you need to go to StarWorksUSA.com for tickets and info. I'm going to be there. Grant Cameron, Paul Hynek, James Fox, Alan Stivelman, Sid Goldberg, and another dozen great speakers. I'm going to be there. Rita's going to be there. The Fade to Black crew is going to be there. So come and hang out with us. Visit StarWorksUSA.com. All right? Now, the Disclosure Fest event that was scheduled for June 20th was moved to August 8th. Now we've got these extended stay-at-home orders. We really don't know what's going on with the state of California or the city of Los Angeles. But right now, it is scheduled for August 8th, which is Saturday. If we need to move it back to September or October, we have dates reserved for those weekends as well. I want you to please visit disclosurefest.org for all of the news, ticket information, location, and everything else that you need. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Stevie Wonder. That's right. Stevie Wonder today, 70 years old. Now, what's your favorite Stevie Wonder song? Post it up there. A zillion hits. But for some reason, and I mean, so many great songs. Sir Duke. Yeah, Sir Duke. Stephen Colbert, today, 56 years old, and Magic Dick. That's right. Magic Dick of the Jay Giles Band, harmonica player. Amazing. Magic Dick today is 75 years old. Didn't he have an afro? Right? That was Magic Dick, right? And Jay Giles. He had the afro and the bandana. Right? Somebody post a picture. I want to make sure that my memory is correct. Also today, Blue Lou. Blue Lou Marini of the Blues Brothers today is 75 years old. Never forget John Belushi on the Blues Brothers live album. Blue Lou. Blue Lou Marini. Blue Lou today, 75. Also today, Guitar God Buckethead today is 51. Our dead guy's birthday today is Richie Valens. 1941 to 1959, died at the age of 17. Richie was a singer, songwriter, and a guitarist, a rock and roll pioneer, and a forefather of the Chicano rock movement. Richie had 2 huge hits during his short 8-month career, Donna and La Bamba. On February 3rd, 1959, on what has become known as the day the music died, Valens, Buddy Holly, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson, as well as pilot Roger Peterson, were all killed in a plane crash. Valens was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001. On this day in history, 1985, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, police began evacuating people from their Osage Avenue homes in order to prepare for an operation against MOVE, a radical cult group that had assembled a large arsenal. By the end of the confrontation, 11 people were dead and 61 homes had burned to the ground. Fader fact. Okay, are you ready? This is a fact. There is a polar bear jail, also known as the Polar Bear Holding Facility, in Churchill, Manitoba, Canada, where polar bears that are considered troublesome are held. That's right, put in the clink. The idea is that extended time behind bars would create a sense of suckiness for the bears so that they will be reluctant to come back to town. That is your Fader fact. You got to see this place, too. It's a jail. It's a jail. It's a jail for naughty bears. Tonight, very special guest, Jim Penniston, joins us to talk about all of the recent Rendlesham news, one of the great cases in all of ufology. And we're also going to talk about his new book, The Rendlesham Enigma. Tomorrow's another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, let me hit this River Moon coffee. rivermooncoffee.com. Yeah. Promo code F2B Blend. Okay. Well, it's like this. Almost 2 years ago, we lost Jim Mars, August 2017. On this day, last year, it was Stanton Friedman. Now, I think about them both often. I really do. Talk about them all the time. Rita and I talk about Mars. We talk about Stan, right? And this is the thing. They were so much alike on many different levels. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm just saying seriously, they were. 2 different guys, Stan and Jim. But they were a lot alike. And the first thing that I just want to bring to everybody's attention, they were funny. They were funny with a sense of humor that was infectious. They really were. With Stan was a little dry. Right? He was a little dry, and he knew it. And he would also play off of it. He knew he was funny. He would say something funny. He wouldn't smile. He'd wait for you, right? And that was Stan. Stan made me laugh. But Jim, on the other hand, Jim had jokes. And not only did he know that he was funny, he was out front with the comedy. And he was really good. He was really, really good with it. And I just enjoyed his when I say humor is the right word, but he knew that he was funny. It was his dialect. There was a lot of other things that with Jim, but he knew he was funny. He made me laugh. And the other thing about these two that can't be denied, totally relentless. Both of them. They never stopped. They didn't. They kept on digging till their last day. And here's the other thing. They loved Fade to Black. They loved the Fadernauts. They hung out with us. And they always did. I'll never forget the first time that I heard Stan say, I love the Fadernauts. Can I have a hat? Stan got his hat, by the way. But to have Stanton Friedman speak that word, Fadernauts, man, meant everything to me. Everything. He liked hanging out with us. He liked, and if you think about it, Stanton at our booth at Contact in the Desert all day, just hanging out, telling stories. It was just incredible. And every time, did we ever get a picture of Stan with his Fade to Black hat that day? I remember I was walking around and I see Stanton walking towards me. He's got the Fade to Black hat on. And I don't know if I grabbed a picture, but it fit him perfect. And every time we did a live broadcast from Contact in the Desert, and if you were ever there, you know what I'm talking about, because there they were, right? Sitting in the front row, next to each other, hanging out with you, the Fadernauts, right? They couldn't wait to get on the show and be a part of the family, their family. They got it. They got it from day one. Oh, just so special. But that's not even the best part. I mean, for me, these two guys helped me understand the world of UFOs and conspiracy. They helped me figure what it was all about, right? They were a guide for all of us, but for me personally. I read, I watched, and I followed them for decades. When UFOs were discussed in the media, it was Stan. It was Stan that was always representing us. It was his face and the voice of reason. And to be very clear, I have seen him for almost 50 years on TV. Now, let that sink in for a moment. 5 decades of dedication. When he died, he was in transit from a live broadcast on stage with George Norrie. And he was on his way home to the very end. That is dedication. And I go back and I started thinking about this. I mean, if I saw something on TV, I'm a kid, 9 years old, something on TV, a document, it was Stanton Friedman. It was Stanton Friedman. That was the face on TV. Incredible. Now, back when we first started Fade to Black, in the beginning, I knew that I wanted, excuse me, getting choked up. I wanted Stan on the show. It was important to me. And I called him out of the blue. He picked up the phone. Freaked me out. And I asked, and he said yes. We had a brief conversation that day, the first time I ever spoke to him. We spoke for about a half an hour. And at the end of that, we talked about UFOs and we talked about things. And he was feeling me out. And in the end, he said, you know what? I'll do the show. Sounds good. Right? He didn't know me. He didn't know the show. The show hadn't even broadcast yet. But that's who Stan was. He was cool. Now, there are so many memories and good times with him. But one that is special for me is when Stan and I sat and went through Project Blue Book together, alone, nobody around, for a couple of hours. And we're sitting on these chairs, got Blue Book. In fact, I think we both had a copy. And we're flipping pages and talking about cases. We would stop and talk, and there was no humor at this point. He was very serious about his research, and he knew every page. He knew every case. And I need you to think about that I was able to, after watching him for 50 years on television, right? It doesn't get any better than that. It just doesn't. There were many opportunities for not only Stan to be on the show, but for Stan to hang out with you and the community and to not only share stories and do that because he was so gracious about it. Everybody wanted to tell them about their UFO experience and get his reaction to that, but they also wanted to ask him questions and things, and that's what Stan did. He would just sit there and listen to everybody. And I miss him. I really do. And to go through so many years of research and taking things so serious when Stan was speaking. I had videos, and I'm talking about many, many, many years ago, a few decades ago. I would watch these tapes of Stanton. I had all of his documentaries that he had done, and I would see him on the screen, and it was always at that moment, no matter who the other researchers were, it was always Stanton that got my attention. It was him. And then to transition through all of that so many years later, I'm an adult doing this with the Fadernauts and Fade to Black, and to have Stanton so graciously just come right into our circle. Yeah, absolutely incredible. There is one other thing I want to share with you before we run. There was a day, and it was hot. And if I've told the story before and you've heard it, I apologize. But it was really hot. And Stan didn't have a hat. And he asked for a faded black hat, and we gave it to him. But he was sunburned. And he said, I just need some water. And all of the Fadernauts, I remember going, we had those coolers with water and got sent. And then he said, can I sit? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he eventually moved his chair closer and closer and closer down till he was underneath our pop-up tent. And he got his shade. And Stanton sat there with all of us for 5 or 6 hours that day. And how precious that was. What a great moment. And that was Stan. That was Stan. So, Stan, I'm serious. I hope you're listening right now. I hope you are. I hope you're laughing. I hope you're laughing. 1 year ago today, we lost Stanton Friedman. With that, my favorite 2 UFO cases, both discussed at length with Stanton Friedman, Travis Walton, and Rendlesham. I've said it many, many times. Tonight, Jim Penniston is here. And one of the most important events for all of us when it comes to ufology is Rendlesham, Woodbridge, Bentwaters. Jim Penniston was there. He was a witness, and he also wrote a book. And we're going to discuss all of that and all of the recent breaking news on Rendlesham tonight, right after this short break. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You stay right there. I'll be right back after this short break. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The links for Jim's new book are up over on our website. You can go and check it out and click right there. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your super strength cleansing tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for super strength tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show. On the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Tonight, Jim Penniston. Tomorrow night, Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Very excited about the conversation with Jim tonight. because he's here to discuss all of the latest breaking news that has been going down in and around Rendlesham and the Rendlesham Forest Incident, one of the most important events in UFO history. Jim, United States Air Force Security Forces, retired, by the way. He entered the Air Force in 1973. He served over 23 years active duty in the United States Air Force. He wrote defense, security, and counter-terrorism and contingency plans for the United States Air Force and NATO. Additionally, he provided security support for Air Force One and other classified aircraft weapon systems. Penniston held for the majority of his 20-year career a U.S. top security BI-SCI and a NATO top secret COSMIC ATOMAL security clearance. Sergeant Penniston and his team were first responders to a security investigation of a craft of unknown origin located just outside RAF Woodbridge in England. In December 1980, that case is known as the Rendlesham Forest Incident and is the most documented account in military history. He was a speaker at 2 National Press Club events, and his first responders account of the Rendlesham Forest Incident has been featured worldwide on numerous television radio programs. He has co-authored 2 books, and his latest is with Gary Osborne, The Rendlesham Enigma. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Sergeant Jim Penniston. Jim, good evening, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been a long time, and it was so funny. I remember you and I seeing each other a few 6 months ago at the UFO, the MUFON symposium, and we briefly had a chance to say hello, and we knew that we would get this happening as soon as possible, and here we are tonight. So thank you so much.
I know, that symposium, I had 16-hour days. It was crazy. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing, Jim, and I have said this so often, that probably the two most important cases in UFO history it's Travis Walton and it's Rendlesham, and for 2 very significant reasons. One, I consider them modern cases. Okay, I do. They're like now. And the second thing is Travis is still with us. Right? And the witnesses that were there, and there's so much evidence and documentation behind that case. And it's the same thing with Rendlesham, right? The witnesses are here. We're not getting second-hand, third-hand, fourth-hand accounts and mythology. You guys are here, right? And all of the evidence is with us, and it is just absolutely important for us and to understand and respect what we actually have in front of us as a UFO community. And that's my position. We know something happened out at Rendlesham, right? We know.
I agree with you 100%. And just a little off subject, speaking of Travis, I've communicated with him with texts and emails for 20 years. And that symposium was the first time I got to meet him. And that was we didn't have no time to talk. It was like so fast, but it's always nice to meet another witness, some of that. Yeah.
And the other thing about Travis, I'm glad that you had a chance to talk to him, because and just like you, but you're able to, look into Travis's eyes and what he has gone through. But he's ready to talk, and he's such a well-grounded individual.
Well, the reason we talk, and I think I can talk for Travis on this, it's actually therapeutic. It helps us, at least it helps me. And the biggest therapy session I had was writing this Rendlesham Enigma book. It took 5 years, and I tell you what, I went back to chapter 3 that's out in the forest. I must have went back to that thing 10 times after a few weeks of not doing nothing with it. I wanted the words to be just right, to convey what was going on. And it took a lot to satisfy me on it. But the whole point behind that is I wanted the reader to know what it felt like and what I was going through moment by moment as I was out there in the forest. And yeah, I don't know if you know Connie Willis. She did I promised her I would do a show with her, and I did. But I only could send her 3 chapters. We didn't have the rest of it compiled yet. And anyway, I gave it to Connie, and I said, "What do you think?" I said, "Oh my God," she says, I was exhausted after reading. She says, I was there with you. She says, she says, I was just beat. I was beat. And I says, then that means I was successful in conveying and putting on paper what it felt like.
When you think about the events today, because it's December of 1980, we're in 2020 now, but do you remember everything?
Everything. Rendlesham Forest was last night.
Right.
Me.
Right. It must be for you when you look at it from the different sides. You're a witness. You're seeing something pretty incredible, but you're also part of the base security. So you've got a few different ways to look at it, right? A few different, and how did you deal with it that evening? I'm actually gonna, I want to walk through the evening one more time with you before we get on to the other stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. But you're a witness, maybe even a victim, right? and base security, military personnel. You're wearing a lot of hats through this incident, aren't you?
I was wearing, several. My main job, and the thing that saved me, I think, is I initiated a security response option because of a possible downed aircraft. So it was a crashed aircraft. So I'm going through the checklist for that, and that helped me. I wasn't like the other guys out there. Those guys, they were freaked out. I mean, no doubt about it. I was at different points, but I had the security response option that I was running. And then when I changed the security response option, I knew it wasn't a downed aircraft. I initiated a helping hand situation, which was an up-channel report. I wasn't receiving anything on the radio, which was odd. I still transmitted in hopes that they would hear everything I was saying, and they did. So we had an up-channel report of a helping hand, which is a telephonic up-channel report through the Wing Command Post, through Ramstein to JCS, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and it's of a possible hostile threat to the priority A, B, or C resources of the base. So that kind of stuff kept me, I guess, what you could say grounded, but I wasn't grounded too well, but it kept me somewhat grounded.
Now, there is, and just for a clarification, so just some basic questions, but to allow the groundwork for the conversation tonight. When Colonel Halt, gets the word, right, they're back, right? And it's just like, what, at the Christmas party. Were you aware of the everything that had led up to that moment?
No, it was all after the fact, and after I had talked to Colonel Halt in his office in the debriefing on the Monday morning. I didn't know nothing about it. As a matter of fact, I was sort of relieved at that point in time after I went through to that point. And when Colonel Halt played the tape and was telling me what was going on, I went, oh, thank God it's off my shoulders.
Right.
At least, he's a colonel. That's good. It's off my shoulders. I don't have to worry about it. But it wasn't exactly like that.
Well, because we've got so much stuff to go through over the years as researchers and, fans of the UFO subject and the paranormal. When we look at this, we hear all of this chatter that's out there. And one of the things that has been said over the years is that people were talking about this around the base after the first night and leading into the second day, that this was a conversation that was going around the base, but that didn't make its way to you.
No, because I didn't go back to the base till Monday. That was like after the the night with Halt and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of chatter going on because it was unclassified at that point in time. I mean, the classification didn't go on until the Monday morning, at the base commander's office. And up to that point, I was talking. I talked to other people about it, and it was quite open. But once that the gag order came down, that was the end of it. I mean, it's really a shame too, because I'm with the guys I work with, guys I depend on. We depend on each other, in life situations. And I couldn't talk to them. I said, "Oh, it's classified." And they go, "Oh, no, really? Oh, yeah." It's like, oh man, this is the most unfair thing that could ever happen to a person.
Now, immediately afterwards, and then we're going to get into the meat of this, but immediately afterwards, I know that you went through the debriefing and things, but Jim, did you have any idea that what just went down was going to occupy the next 40 years of your life? Did you have any idea the impact on this planet, that what went down in Rendlesham Forest was as significant as it was?
I knew it was a life-changing event, but there's no way I could even envision the next 40 years. I've had PTSD from it. I've been, fortunately about 10 years ago, I got the right medication. Usually I sleep at night, not always. I mean, I get Rendlesham revisited, it's, I'm just so, I guess, numb to it now. It's crazy. But no, I never thought, I would be in this position. Because my initial intent, I just wanted everything to go away, and that didn't happen.
No, it certainly didn't. So without reliving the minute by minute left at East Gate scenario, going up the road, heading into the forest, and all of that. We'll bypass all of that. It's well documented.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes, Jim.
Thank you so much.
There's the softball pitch right there. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, but let's go to the moment. Take us where you and John are lying. From what I understand, and you guys are lying down, getting ready to take a peek up over the little ridge that's there, and this object is sitting in front of you. Take us to that moment right there. What was happening?
Okay, I have Airman Kabanzak. He's 50, 60 feet behind me to my left, right. Mm-hmm. That's where the enter control point was going to be, by the way. And then I had Burroughs about 20 feet back to my right rear. And then I came over the... I was having all kinds of problems, things that weren't right, and I knew it was an aircraft crash. I terminated the security response option for a downed aircraft. It was a white light emanating from behind this berm, and it was definitely not a crash. So now I'm thinking about the security of the bases. So I implemented initiated a helping hand situation. Like I said before, it's a telephonic up-channel report of a possible hostile threat that could jeopardize the war-making capabilities of priority A, B, or C resources. And so now it's a security issue, and I don't have a weapon because we left them on base because we thought it was going to be an aircraft crash. I felt physical changes as I was coming up over the berm. It felt like my movements were labored. They were. It felt like going through a pool of water waist high, and how you would that best describes the feeling. I felt static electricity all over the place on my head, and my hair, my clothes. I've had adrenaline rushes before. I knew that wasn't it. And then the light started dissipating, and I finally got to look over, get ready to look over, and the light started dissipating down. So I looked back to my left, and there's nothing going on with command sec, he's not moving. I look back to the right, there's Burroughs, he's not moving. And I'm inside this lighted area that measured about 10 feet on each side of, this object, and maybe about 10 or 15 feet in the air, and it was all lit up. Everything outside seemed lit up, and but there's no movement out there. And then the light dissipated, and I could start seeing a structured craft on it, triangular in shape. It became finally a black triangular craft, but it had globular lights that were moving throughout the craft, and those eventually slowed down. I had used all my film in my camera, so I figured that, well, it looks like the other two are casualties, and I thought I could be next. So I said, well, do your job. If you're not going to make it, you might as well do your job. So I said, I'm going to write down as much information as I can about this craft. I mean, even though I was calling in on the radio for security checks, I decided to go ahead and look for anything I could write down, so higher headquarters or the command element of the base could actually make decisions, with these notes and that.
Why would you, Jim, let me jump in really quick. Why would you classify, I'm going to use air quotes, the other two as casualties?
They weren't moving. They were frozen.
Were they standing or were they laying down?
Both were standing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. In our initial, if you go back to the part about we both hit the, we hit the ground when the light first went and exploded,
Right.
But apparently he got up too. But then I started looking for things. I paced off the craft. They had no measurement devices. So, I paced off the craft. It was, with 3 paces, mine about 9 feet. They measured that. It was equilateral triangle. I stand 6'2", so, it was sort of hard to tell, but it measured maybe 6.5, 7 feet tall. I couldn't really tell. There was still, the lighting, the globular light had stopped, and so there was just an opaque craft there. But I didn't need no flashlights or nothing out there in that dark forest. I mean, I could see everything that was going on.
Let me ask you one quick question. The monument that is now in Rendlesham Forest, that craft, is that similar to what you saw or not?
Well, it's triangular. And I did help the Forestry Service with the glyphs for it. I mean, I did help them with that. They couldn't really do it accurately, they said, because it was sheet metal or something like that. I've never, been to the monument, but they said they tried to get it as close as they could. But it was triangular, but it didn't look like that. But it's just like the route they have at the forest, for the UFO trail. That's not even accurate. That's not right either.
Right.
It just works for the forestry department,
Sure.
I brought all that up to them, and they said, "Hey, we're trying to make some money off this." I said, "Oh, well, that's fine." So that's what they did.
Yeah,
well,
right. What about
the forestry department?
So the dome on the top was just artistic license.
What they had, it had like a. I'll describe there was like a dorsal fin that came back up out of the craft that was extending out of it, and that went up well over my head, and it was I was looking for things that aircraft had, like crew compartments, aerions, flaps, all that. It was void of all that stuff. But the other thing that caught my eye right away, one of the first things, is like how is it standing above the forest here?
Right.
How is this fixed here? So I'm looking underneath. I still got this light underneath, and all I could see is the indentions in the ground, the 3 of them, and the light. That was it. So the technology wasn't light, apparently. It was something that made imprints. And so, I actually tried to push it to see if it moved, and it was solid. It didn't even, if you had a car out there and you went to push it, it'd move an inch or two. You know what I mean?
Right.
This was solid. It didn't move at all, and which was perplexing. But the good news is, with it looking somewhat inert, with no more light flashing around in it, and it was opaque black, very smooth to touch. It was metal, though, of some kind. No rivets. With it being in, no activity going on, really, I felt a lot better and more calmer. Because I was pretty freaked out at the beginning. I was.
Well, of course you were, and
Jimmy, it was a WTF moment.
It had to have been. It had to have been, Jim. And this is before we head to the break. I'm a military brat. You and I have talked about that.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I'm a military brat, and I grew up on military bases, and I know my planes. You are in the United States Air Force. You know planes, right? That's what you. And when you're looking at this, what's going through your mind? Were you thinking something off planet at that moment, or were you going somewhere else with this? Or did you even think it was a craft? 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay. Prior to this assignment, in '75, I was with the SAC Elite Guard. I was bodyguards for the SAC, Commander-in-Chief of SAC, and stuff like that, in the command post and all this stuff. And so that's where I got my top secret clearance as an airman. And what we do is there'd be classified research and development meetings that we'd stand outside so no one would get too close to hear about it. And of course you can hear all the stuff that's going on inside. And like their shows and stuff that they would show for the briefings. They projected 50 years in the future of R&D aircraft, and nothing looked like this. Nothing looked like that craft. No.
And so were you thinking that it was something that could fly? You know what I mean?
No,
Are you thinking?
No,
yeah,
Jimmy,
right.
This thing was a brick.
Right.
I don't see how it could fly. That was one of the things just so perplexed. How in the hell did it get here? It's in a little clearing, but these trees in that forest were like 4 to 5 feet apart. I just paced off 9 feet. I mean, I looked up, and everything looked fairly intact on the canopy and the forest. And I said, "Well, how did he get here?" I had all kinds of questions. I mean, and none of it made sense. And the other thing is, before I walked in that forest, I didn't believe in ufology or UFOs or anything like that. I sort of think they were all whacked, the people that thought that kind of stuff. And my mind was changing really fast. I knew I had something that wasn't, in the inventory, Jane's Book of Aircraft, ours, theirs, or whatever. It wasn't there. It couldn't fly, but it was there. And I tell you what, Sergeant Steffens told me. He says, "It didn't crash, it landed." And I says, "What? There's no way that can happen. It was impossible."
And I've got 90 seconds. You had to do the other obvious thing, I'm assuming. You had to look up, right? Into the trees, right?
Yes.
And what did you see?
I seen trees.
Right.
Branches. That forest is just pitch black otherwise. You can't see nothing. The only lighting that was coming out from underneath that craft, and the bubble area I was in around the craft, I mean, it was surreal. I mean, that's the word. I mean, give it justice, okay? It doesn't. I don't know. I don't have a word for it.
Yeah, one last question before the break. When you were feeling the skin, right, you're running your hands along. We'll get to everything else after the break. But was there any vibration, engine, anything, or was it itself just completely motionless?
It was motionless, no sound, but to touch it, it was warm to touch.
It was warm.
Yeah, but later, through Sergeant Neville's investigation, later that morning, the next day, That's because of the beta radiation. That's what he told me. That was comforting.
Let's take our break right here, Jim, and we'll be right back. Tonight, Jim Penniston joins us, and we are going to do it all tonight. We're going to do Rendlesham top to bottom, back and forth, to and fro, and also discuss his new book. We're gonna get through it all and all of the other recent revelations that have surfaced in and around Rendlesham. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jim Penniston is here. Now, his new book, The Rendlesham Enigma, is available, of course, and the links for it are over at jimmychurchradio.com. He co-authored that with Mr. Osborne. And more on that in just a bit. And we're going to stay with the timeline, Jim, where we are at right now, because I think for most of us, this is the download period, right? And
that's correct.
And so when this happened, well, actually, just take us through that. Did you know at the time that is what was going on?
No, I didn't know at the time, but I decided to do a 360 of the craft, walk around and take notes, and I'm on the first walk around, and then I start seeing that there's some type of inscription stuff on it. I went, oh, thank God, it's going to say NASA, Soviet something, or some kind of experimental thing or something. So I was somewhat relieved, and I got a little closer, and I see they were like pictorial glyphs. And I says, "Oh, this is not right." So I'm feeling, the craft is, it's like I say, it's black glass. That's how smooth it was, but it was metal. And as I went from that into where the glyphs were, and they were stretched out, I used my hands. The 5 of them were down at the bottom, and there's one in the center that was a triangular one with 3 little other ones, and so I went from the smoothness. When I touched the glyphs on the bottom, it was like sandpaper, the feeling, so it's sort of like etched in. So I wrote those all down, and then I mean, I'm not in a good sense at that point in time either. I'm pretty shook up, because I know it's not ours. And I walked back around, and I said, I got to examine those glyphs a little bit better. And I'm still waiting for the response forces. I figure, if I spend enough time out there, the response forces will come in, I'll have assistance, pretty soon, which never did happen, by the way. And I get to the glyphs again, and the one that fascinated me was the one that was on top. It was this, this triangular one, this circular one.
Hey, Jim, can you move your microphone a little closer to your mouth?
There we go. How's this?
Oh, perfect. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
So the center glyph.
Yeah, and that was the predominant one, and it was an above, and that's the one that fascinated me. So, I was going to touch that like I touched the other ones, and I put my hand on it to touch it, and there was like a bright white light. I can't even describe the light. I could see nothing else but this white, bright light, and ones and zeros. And that's another WTF moment, by the way. I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on, and I sort of gained my senses. It wasn't very long. I gained my senses that I just lifted my hand off, and they stopped. It was stopped. There was no more bright light or nothing like that. But it wasn't light. I know it wasn't light because I had my night vision. I could see everything. That usually takes 30 or 40 minutes to see. And so I was pretty freaked out on that. And I knew at that point in time I was never going to touch anything, any other part of that craft. That was over with. the touching of the craft. As I got back around, the lights started to move back, the globular light. And so I got back and I got in a prone position trying to eat dirt. And because I thought I activated something. I thought it was going to explode or something.
Right.
And, I says, yeah, keep your damn hands off of it. You know, I activated something with this stupid thing. And then it started showing a lot of white light where the craft itself was, you couldn't see it no more. Not very well anyway. And it started to move back through the trees, which are only 4 or 5 feet apart, by the way. And it's 9 feet because I paced that off. I know it can't happen. It went through them, maybe about 15 or 20 feet. Then it rose up to the top of the trees and made a slight turn and gone in a blink of an eye. And at that point in time, I got back up, and I got Burroughs running up next to me, going, there it is over there. And you can't see nothing. The forest is black. I mean, it's just black. There's nothing. You can't see nothing. It's too dark.
Right.
And so he was moving. There's no problem there. I'm looking back. Kabanzak's moving. And Burroughs takes off and blows the team concept all to hell. And so what am I going to do? I had no choice, but I took after him. I was 26 at the time. I maybe went about 50 feet, jumped 2 fences. One was barbed wire. And I got to a farmer's field. I fell down 2 or 3 times. It was wet and icy. I was soaked. I finally Burroughs stops running somewhere around past the farmers' houses and stuff, past his field. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm chasing the UFO. I said, where? And so I couldn't see it. And he says, look down my arm. He points his arm down. I looked down his arm. It's in the opposite direction, by the way. It was over by the coastline. I'm looking. I says, what are you looking at? And there's this faint light on the horizon. I said, that's the lighthouse, John. Oh. And as I said, I turned around and I seen the craft again over the Rendlesham Forest. And it made another turn and took off at a much slower speed. I say maybe a couple hundred miles an hour. And it headed over toward the coastline. And that's the last time I seen it. And when we went back in, Burroughs was, the only thing he was talking about is, what are we going to tell him? What are we going to tell him? What are we going to tell him? I says, well, you're not going to tell him nothing. I says, I'm in charge, and I'll be doing the talking. Because I know this much. How do we prove what happened? We can't tell them that a UFO was out there. That's an automatic career ender. Goodbye. You're done. And I had decided at that point in time that I was going to make a career of the Air Force. So I coined the phrase on the posting bus coming back, craft of unknown origin. I figured that'd fly. And it did.
That would fly. What about Kabanzak? Did he follow you guys out of the forest?
No, he never was right in the forest edge. I tell you, it looks a lot different. Back then, the Queen's forest is cut like a crop, and they had that thing cut all the way to 100 or 200 yards from the east gate. It all had been cut down, and there was nothing but berms where the stubs were. So he was at the last access point where I couldn't go any farther with a Jeep. I was afraid I was going to tip it over. And I said, well, this is a good place for entry control point. That's the entry control point. I called into Sergeant Coffey at CSC. So that's how they knew the next day and everything where the location of where this craft was, where it had landed. That's where they all that's why they knew.
Now, I picture something else in my mind, and I've heard and read everything on this case, just like everybody else. I'm no different. But I've always pictured you guys getting back to others outside of the force that were gathered there to ask you guys what you guys see. So immediately after that, you and Burroughs, who did you encounter first?
Well, we're different career fields. Okay, we're not in the same career field, Burroughs and I. He's a law enforcement, I'm a security specialist. So we lose contact with each other. He gets a ride back with a law enforcement patrol. I come back on the posting bus. Those guys, they're beside themselves. We seen it. What happened? We seen this. They're just like that. I say, I'm trying to get my notes together so I can do the 1569. Come on, guys. Mm-hmm. And they're good guys. I mean, they're just freaked out as I was. And anyway. When I got back to CSC, well, it's guys like Aaron Bertolino and there's a whole bunch of guys. They have different vantage points of seeing this. So this is what Rendlesham is. It's a mass sighting. I'll tell you that right now. It's a mass sighting. It's not about me or it's not about anybody that was with me. It's a mass sighting, and including civilians off base. So it's a big sighting. Probably if you check both nights, a couple hundred people, was seeing this. It's a big sighting.
Right.
And when I got to, did you hear my briefing at the symposium, by the way?
At MUFON?
Yeah.
Yes, I was there. I was standing on the back wall.
Well, here's what I started. I says, how many people know about Rendlesham. They all raise their hand. Obviously, they're here to hear about it.
That's right.
And then I says, okay, everything you know about it, half of it's wrong. At least half of everything you know is wrong because of the disinformation and everything's been put out in documentaries and books and witnesses that weren't there and all kinds of stuff. And that was part of the problem. I got back to CSC. Sergeant Chandler, he's the flight sergeant for Bentwater. So he was the one that relieved me. When I went to the East Gate, he was left the East Gate, went into the forest. He actually assumed command and control at the East Gate for Woodbridge because I was in charge of security that night. And I said to Sergeant Chandler, I said, oh, man, you wouldn't believe what happened out there. He said, I've seen it all. He's seen it all for the East Gate. He says, no, he says, just turn your weapon in. He says, go ahead and, the captain wants to talk to you. I said, okay. And so I went to CSC and I was going to do the 1569. I had to convert, like civilian time to military time, that stuff like that.
Right.
And I was going to do the 1569. They do a blotter entry, just for your listeners. A blotter entry is a short entry, lights in the wood, fire, stuff like that. And the 1569 I was going to complete. That's usually a detailed report of exactly what happened. And they're usually a page or a page and a half, typed. And Sergeant Coffey, the senior controller, hands me the 1569 done. And it was at that point in time I knew that they heard everything. I said, you hear everything? He goes, yeah, we heard everything on the radio. You just couldn't, you couldn't hear us. I went, wow. And I looked at the 1569, I compared the times and everything, and they were exactly right. And so I didn't have to do that. Sergeant Coffey is a contributor on the book, obviously. And then I went to, Burroughs was there at the time, and then I said, oh, we got to go see shift commander, don't say a word. He didn't. And I reported in for both of us, and at that point in time, I was sanitizing everything I was doing because I was worried about my career. And Captain Verano was there because Moran had to leave early because he had a flight to the States. He was going to go on leave and that, so to catch his plane, he had to leave early. So Verano says, I reported a very generic account to him. Never used the word UFO because it was landed. I used the word craft of unknown origin. And he was just tapping his pen on the desk, and he says, gentlemen, he says, there's no way to report this. I says, no, sir. And he goes, no. He says, Project Blue Book ended in '69. We don't have a way to report this. He says, what I want you to do is let us handle it. And I want you to just go home and take 3 days off and enjoy your break. And I said, okay, that sounded good to me, sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no other way to respond to that. Obviously, it's a very intense situation, but you're also in the military, right? And that's the way that you have to handle it at that point. I can't imagine approaching it another way. Like you said, you've got a career in front of you. It's the military. They're going to deal with it the way that they need to deal with it. You've got a job to do. And I think we all understand that. Oh, Jim, hold on. I want to back up for a second.
Sure.
You had mentioned the bright light and the ones and zeros and the binary thing that was happening. You didn't understand it at that point?
I didn't know what binary was. That ones and zeros, I don't know. I thought, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about it even on the posting bus coming back.
That was my question. That was we're reading each other's minds right now. I love it. So what were you thinking? You're on the posting bus. You're going back, and were you getting a more clearer picture? Were you thinking about it? What was going through your mind?
Well, I could still see those ones and zeros, and I says, "Oh my God, I guess I'm traumatized for this damn thing." I said, "Well, I'm not going to tell them this stuff. I'm not even going to use the word UFO." I mean, this is like I gotta make sure this goes away. That was my intent. But the 1569 was pretty detailed, okay, and that later was picked up by agents, and it was classified secret, according to Sergeant Coffey. And the Wing Command Post, you ever hear the tapes that they talk about?
Absolutely.
There's no videotapes, okay, that's zero, that's none. There's no such thing. But we did have audio tapes. There were these big TAC
reel-to-reels.
Yep. They were at the Wing Command Post. And what they recorded for 72 hours was all the radio traffic for security, fire department, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that is probably the smoking gun to Rendlesham, those tapes. And those tapes, the Monday or Tuesday morning, personally, General Gabriel came in from Ramstein, the Commander-in-Chief of Europe, U.S. Air Forces Europe, like he has nothing else to do, came in and picked up those tapes. Those are probably the smoking gun to Rendlesham, next to my statement I did in the OSI building.
Yeah, and I think all of us get a little freaked out when we listen to the Halt audio recording too, as well, which was my first introduction into Rendlesham. I'll never forget that. Okay, here we go. This is a military situation here with the recording of an event like this. It had never really been like that before. When we're talking about UFOs. Now back to the binary. There is, excuse me, I'm sorry about that. I don't have COVID. Is this the recollection of that night of the flash of light and the binary? You didn't understand it was binary, no. but the numbers were there. But how long was it from that night with the craft to your the writing down in your notebook?
Well, it was that night of the day of the 26th. That night, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep at all because I was traumatized. I mean, and these ones and zeros are just driving me crazy. I mean, I like to say it's a mind's eye kind of thing, but I could see these, and I says. So I try to. I lay down for maybe a half an hour. 11 o'clock on the 26th, going into the 27th, and I'm at my home, and I couldn't sleep, so I said, "Oh, the hell with it! I'll get up. I make a pot of coffee. I can't sleep anyway." I sit down at my dining room table. I'm starting to doubt everything that happened now, because of I says this can't be. This can't be real. This couldn't happen. And so I grabbed my notebook, Yeah, I'm reading my notes. I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the glyphs, and I'm flipping through it. And, of course, the back of the notebook is just full of nothing but blank pages. And I said, you know what? I think I can write that down. I'll write those things down. I think I can do that. And so I got a pen, and I started writing, and, 1 or 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. I started writing these down. And when I did that, I started feeling better. And I said, oh, wait a minute, because at that point in time, I was actually considering I'd have to go to the base hospital, and I didn't know where that was going to end well. I'll tell you that right away.
Yeah.
Because what's the matter? I'm seeing 1s and 0s. I mean, is that going to work? That's not going to work. And why do you think, what happened to you? Well, I was out in the forest, and I seen a craft on an orange, and this is not going to end well. It just means the end of your career, your clearance is gone, your weapons card's pulled, and they start discharge. I mean, that was it. So I knew I couldn't go to the base hospital. But so when I started writing down these 1s and 0s, I felt better. Matter of fact, you know how pens are that you have around the house? I mean, I'm writing, and one just stopped. And I'm like freaked out because it stopped. I'm looking through a drawer for a pen that worked. I start back up again. I guess where I left off, because apparently it makes sense when they decoded them. And then I just kept writing until I couldn't see them no more. And I felt great. And I'm thinking, oh, Jim, you just dodged a bullet. Man, you're going to be okay. And that was what I call in the book my episode of insanity. I mean, because that's what I thought it was. The trauma was just crazy, and so. But after that, I couldn't see him anymore, and so I'm not going to tell anybody about those 1s and 0s things. I'm going to keep that to myself, and I did. The 1s and 0s, for example, the Pioneer, the only reason it got out is because of Linda Moulton Howe and John Burroughs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and we'll get to that. We'll get to that after the break. Just one quick question: you're living on base at that time?
No, I was living off base.
You were off base. And
I bought a house there. Yeah.
Okay, so and were you living alone?
No, I had my wife and 2 kids at the time.
And what were they? I've never asked you about your personal life, but did they know what you were going through when you were writing down the 1s and 0s and the events of the day? Did you share this with them?
Well, when I got back to the house that morning, because Burroughs only lived like a half block from me. Okay, so I gave him a ride back and forth to work. His flight chief wanted me to make sure that he got back and forth to work, so that's what I was doing. And anyway, he came with me to the house, and of course we're all wet and we look ragged, and so in the house was my wife and Sergeant Kennedy, who we rented the room to. He was there, and she says, "Man, what happened?" And Kennedy says, "What happened to you?" He said, "You look like shit." And I says, I was going to tell him a condensed version of it. And remember, at that point in time, we could talk about the incident. It wasn't no gag order on it. And Burroughs spouts out and says, "We see a UFO," and they started laughing, including my wife at the time, my ex-wife, by the way. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Fair enough, guys." I says, "Don't ever ask me another thing about the incident, about what happened." And that's what she never did.
We're going to take a break right here. When we come back, Jim, we're going to briefly discuss what went down the next day. There are some things there that are significant, but for us tonight, I don't think we need to relive everything, because we're going to jump straight to time travel. Okay, so we'll do all of that right after the break. Yeah, exactly. Our guest tonight, Jim Penniston. It is, as promised, the conversation about Rendlesham. Okay, we've got a lot of breaking news about Rendlesham, and his book, The Rendlesham Enigma, is out. The links for it are over at jimmychurchradio.com. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jim Penniston is here. If you ever miss a live show like tonight, very simple solution. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get our podcast. It's updated every single night after the show, and for just $2 per month, you have over 1,200 shows right there in the archives. Let's get straight back to it now. Okay, so Jim. Oh man. Okay, we're going to skip over a lot of stuff that has been gone over so many times before. But you did go through a pretty serious debriefing, and I've heard different accounts of this, and that there was possibly a civilian in a suit, maybe CIA, some government guy that was there. I don't know. Can you set the record straight on the urban part of this, the urban legend?
Yeah, when I went down to the OSI building, and by the way, I knew all the OSI agents. There's 9 of them.
OSI being Office of Special Investigations.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Not your audience. I'm sure none of them all been in the Air Force to know the acronyms. Okay. I'm so sorry about. You know what? I thought I got rid of that after I retired. I wouldn't use those acronyms. Yeah. So I went down to the. I got a call Sunday night. The incident, I think, happened on Friday or something like that. Anyway, on the Sunday night, I get a call from Sergeant Hudson. I got a report down to the OSI building on Monday morning.
Which is never good.
I was
right.
I was expecting. Well, OSI handled black marketing and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, I didn't know what good they could do. But I figured, well, they're going to do an investigation, and I guess OSI's handling it. But I got there, and the OSI's agents, they didn't know really nothing about it. They said, no, we got a couple guys in here, agents that want to talk to you. And at that time, OSI, working overseas during the Cold War and that, they fell on an operational command and control of the State Department down in London. They didn't fall under, the air base there or nothing like that. They were independent. So when I got into the debriefing room, it was two agents. I didn't know who they were. Anyway, they told me. They says they gave me a legal paper, or a pad of paper, and he says they write down everything that happened, and this goes away. I went, oh, that's exactly what I want. So I write down everything in there, and then they come back, 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, or something like that, and they take it and they say, we're going to type this up. I said, okay. So they got me a Coke. I was comfortable. And when they came back, this 4-page printed out statement, they have this bond paper that has about a quarter of it with single lines typing. And I'm reading it, and I says, you left a lot of stuff out, and they're also using British terms like the spelling of color and using meters and all kinds of stuff. They said, what we want you to do is read this, memorize it, and this is the story you're going to tell. I said, I got to meet the base commander, I says, later on. And they said, this is the story you tell them. This is an active investigation, and they had the right to say that, too. And I said, okay, so that means I've got to lie to the command element. And they said, it's not lying, it's following orders. Okay. So I memorized it. And I go up to the base commander's office. They sit Burroughs at one end at the conference table, me on another. We draw our diagrams. I just I wrote down what was in that statement they wanted me to say. And by the way, the statement that's out, that ain't mine. That's the one from OSI. My statement I did down at the OSI building was signed, and it was dated. And the one that is going around and has been for 40 years is the typed one from OSI that was given to me by the agents. So that's not my statement. All the other statements are signed, by the way, not mine. And anyway, the part that you're going to talk about, you want me to talk about, is a part I recall going in for a further debriefing, and this they said they want to do sodium pentothal, And I said, why? And they said, we want to make sure you're telling the truth, and this goes away. Oh, there's that statement again. This goes away. Okay, that's what I want. And one of the things that happened is I did that, and it didn't go away. What happened at the OSI building, I found out by chance, and that was after I retired in 1993. In 1994, I'm having a sleep disorder, so I go to my doctor. My doctor says, I can't help it, MD. She says, I can't help you, I can just give you meds. And she says, well, what I think you should do, I'll give you a referral to a psychiatrist if you don't mind. I said, I don't mind. I said, I want to sleep. I'm only getting 2 hours sleep, and I said, I'm a mess. And so I started seeing the psychiatrist through this referral. And I see her about 4 or 5 times, and she's, yeah, it's okay, And I says, well, what's the problem? She says, well, what I want to do is I want to do a regression, hypnosis. She says, something happened in your life that's traumatized you. I said, like what? She said, I don't know, maybe something as a child. I said, oh my God. I said, you mean I was abused as a child? I know I wasn't, And she says, no. She says, don't freak out. She says, we're going to do it. So what she did is she taped them. Those were her notes, and she actually gave me excuse me. I don't have COVID either.
You don't have COVID either. Well done, Jim. Well done. Okay.
So she taped them. And so at the end of those, that's where it comes out that sodium pentothal, and it was just horrible to watch in film, and which I never did until a year ago, by the way. And she was nice enough. Back then, they didn't care, I guess, about getting sued. She let me have her notes. She gave them to me, which was those 2 film clips, 4 hours. And only about 2 minutes have ever been shown publicly because they're covered under HIPAA, protected health information from the doctor. And because I had Linda Moten Howe do a transcript of them, and she can't use it for any other purpose because it is HIPAA. I got her restricted, so I stopped her from that. So that's the case with it. And it was one of the things during the hypnosis was that came out. Now, I'll tell you, in writing this book, Gary Osborne took those 4 hours of tapes and he transcribed the whole thing and he read them to me. We did it by Skype. It took, 40, 80 hours. I don't know how many hours. And so I actually heard everything that's in them, through the transcript. But I never watched it. I still can't watch it.
No, I can't imagine going through that. No,
it's too disturbing. No. And one of the things they put in is a memory block. And the thing they blocked was the binary code. That was the only thing they blocked. Not the fact that I was down there, not the fact that they gave me sodium pentothal. It was the binary. But their Achilles heel turns out in 2010 to be the notebook where I recorded the binary, and which they didn't know existed. They didn't. So that's actually they screwed up.
Now, this is where things for me get interesting. I have always, and I'm just going to be straight out with you in the audience, Jim. I've always looked at this as an ET case, right? Something was visiting us from not of this earth. Okay, I'm just being very clear that I'm not secret access or program, not some, nothing terrestrial here. That was always my view of the case. And you spoke that you received, this is in the book and you've talked about this quite a bit, but that it wasn't ET, that it was us from the future. And I always stepped back from that, Jim, and went, everybody's got a different view of Rendlesham. Although you spoke about it, there's hundreds of witnesses, and everybody that comes forward, everything's just a little bit different. You, though, you are right in a singular position on what this event was. But you were also the only one to touch the craft. You were the only one to walk around the craft. You were the only one to see it and feel it and touch it and know it. And so we have to take a special exception to what you are saying here. Now, when this part of Rendlesham was coming back to you and this communication, how was it? How was it in English, right? Was it a feeling? Was it a vibe? I'm talking about the download itself of this information. How did you receive it?
No, it was meaningless. I thought at the time the ones and zeros, I didn't know what they said. But I tell you what, there was communication being done, apparently, because of I had these impressions from the contact.
Right.
And a lot of it matched what was in the binary message. I'm like, well, when it was actually discovered, the binary message in that, and came to light like 30 years later, I said, oh yeah, those thoughts I kept to myself, I says, yeah, that's in that message. I said, well, I had those. I said at the time, and so that's a time in 2010 I got freaked out all over again, because I'm like, what kind of technology did this? And I tell you, my belief at the time, it had some things that were only human. Okay, it wasn't alien. I mean, why would you have a triangular shaped craft, which was rare at that time? And then why would they mark them? Why would they mark them with symbols? That's what we do. We put numbers on our aircraft,
Mm-hmm.
So then, obviously it had to be a drone. There's no way that a pilot could be piloted by us, by a human. It was too small for that. What was the question? I'm getting off into some place else I'm living in.
No, you've got me on the edge of my seat, Jim. Trust me. The binary code is one thing, and we're going to break that down here in just a second, of course. But the other part of it, and you just referenced it, it matched up with what you were feeling and what you were seeing. Was that part of the download? And that you were matching up here? Did you have an indication that, whether it was a feeling or a picture in your mind of this being us from the future?
I knew it wasn't so much that was what I initially felt. It was that I knew it wasn't alien. It wasn't ET. Because one of the messages, one of the impressions that I got from it is that even in the future, 8,000 years, they're still waiting for first contact. Oh, that's something an alien wants to tell us.
Wow.
Right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, and then it turns out that's in the hypnosis, by the way. So I'm like, wow, So the hypnosis, by the way, is pretty accurate. It enforces everything I've seen, and I did use a little bit of the hypnosis about when I was around the craft or going out there, what I was thinking about Burroughs and what I was thinking about Kabanzak. That's straight from the hypnosis. And, it's true. The other thing that people don't know is I kept journals. Like every day I was in the Air Force, I kept a journal. I logged in everything I did and who I talked to and what we talked about. And I did that for 20 plus years. And all this stuff, obviously, when I left Bentwaters in '84, I made sure everything was pretty much secure. I shipped it myself back to my parents. So they were in storage for a number of years up to, I don't know what year it is. My parents finally said, hey, come over and get these boxes. This is after I retired. They said, come over and get these boxes. What boxes? This are these boxes you put in, you sent us. And they've been here in storage. Oh my God, really? And I go over there, there's like 3 big boxes. And in one of the boxes, of course, besides my journals, was my notebook from that night.
The next, let's talk about the next week for a second, because we now know the things that Colonel Chuck, we'll just call him Chuck Halt, has spoken about, and that is crafts with some kind of scanning beams coming out of them, going into the weapons area, apparently around the base. There was that part. Things being seen above Rendlesham Forest. We also have some of the other reports of radar stuff that was coming in and around Rendlesham that night. And the other reports of, a craft being in the second farmer's field. All of these things apparently were happening. Also, of course, what happened with you and John Burroughs in the forest. What do you make of all of that? Does it all make sense?
No. In our book, we get Sergeant Monroe Neville's. He tells his accounting. And he, by the way, he's done that for the same accounting for the last, with videos and all that for the last 30 years. It's the same. And so he actually wrote his chapter, and it stays about 80% with 90% at the scene, like Halt. What Halt didn't know the morning that we came back in, that Colonel Conrad got a hold of Sergeant Neville's, and along with Bruce England, Lieutenant England, and he says, go out there and investigate the landing site. That's who went out there, and that was in the afternoon. So Halt knew nothing about that. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, Monroe Neville's does not lie. I mean, this is accurate. And so he tells about that, and then he came back in around 7:30 that night to the officers' club. I mean, he's pretty tired too, and he meets with Colonel Conrad, and all the officers are together there, and Halt's there, along with other key positions, maintenance officers. There's a whole bunch of them there, and he gets with Colonel Conrad, and Colonel Conrad asks him questions about, well, do you think it needs to have more investigation? He goes, absolutely, sir. He says, there's something to this. He says, it's the area is warm, hot, and I think it needs more investigation. So he sends Monroe Neville's back out there. Halt asked to go along, and he did, and that's when the tape was made. The tape was over a couple hours out there, mm-hmm. And so it's pretty accurate, except Halt didn't know nothing about Colonel Conrad, and he didn't know the fact that Monroe Neville's was out there during the daytime investigating the site in the daylight. And so anyway, when Chuck gets the book, the Rendlesham Enigma, it's got Monroe's accounting, and we, in fairness, put Halt's accounting in there too, by the way. And he was upset. He said, that's not what happened. He said, Monroe's making it up. I said, give me a break, Chuck. I says, we verified this with Colonel Conrad, and some of it with Major General Williams. I said, they said, and Conrad read the final chapter, and he says everything in it is accurate. And I said, so that gives Monroe Neville's and another competent witness that's true. And I says, you don't have anybody saying this stuff's true, but we put yours in there.
There's another.
He's not happy, but I want you to know that.
Well, Chuck, I've only hung out with him one time, but very pleasant, very nice guy. But
yes.
But he, how do I say this? He will stand up for himself on a dime.
Yeah,
right? And I can't put it another way than that. I don't think there's much bending there. There's not a lot of bending room.
Well, here's what he wanted me to do. I don't mind telling the public this. He wanted me to eliminate Monroe Neville's chapter and put his in. I wouldn't do it. I said, I'll put yours in along with it as the other view. I said, which is already in there, but if you want to rewrite something and put all the detail you want in it, I said, I'll do a revision to the book, and we'll go with it. And he didn't want to do that.
Now,
but He was speechless, though, after I told him it was all verified by Conrad and General Williams. He didn't say another word.
Well, I don't have Jim. I don't think anybody does. I don't take any issue with different recollections of those 3 days.
I agree, Jimmy. 90% of what Monroe Neville says and Halt say are identical out in the forest. They're right beside each other.
Right.
The part that differs is the other stuff, the tertiary stuff, who ordered what, who ordered this,
Right.
Hey, I don't know. I wasn't there on that. I mean, I'm going by what Neville said. And I tell you what, I listened to 3 tapes, and they're all identical, and that he did. And when Colonel Conrad said it's absolutely right when you read the draft, I went, okay, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. Now, okay, so this is let's get straight to it. Halt's account with his team out there, which is on the audio tape, speaks about a blinking eye. Right, and the metal dripping part of his description of what they were seeing moving through the trees.
So does Monroe. It's the same. Yeah.
That's right. So, but what I'm referring to is that blinking eye. Does that cross-reference to what you saw with the craft? Did you see anything that could have been a blinking eye?
No.
And do you think that it was the possibility of 2 different craft or the same craft just acting differently?
I don't know what to think on that. I can only go by what the witnesses tell me.
Right.
Neville's and Halt. There was more than 1 craft in that night. I think they both agree that there's 3 or 4 craft.
That's right.
Flying, but those are UFOs. Those are lights in the sky,
Right.
But the part that got me is when Sergeant Ball, said that it looked like they were doing a grid search. And that's the part that I got out of it that was fascinating. Was that part. I mean, what happens later is what the Air Force did is that to cover up the first night, and they tried to cover up, they did it successfully for years. They covered up the first night. What they did is they melded it with the third, so it was one incident, which was brilliantly done by them. And that night was actually the cover story. The third night they used, and then they expanded on it. It got really bizarre to make it another UFO story. That's all. And I mean, like beings and floating stuff, and they did all that stuff. And matter of fact, that's where Warren comes up with the cover story. That's the story that's in Left East Gate, by the way. It's the cover story that they manufactured. I tell how the cover story happened, and who was facilitating that, and who got the information out, who was in charge of that. And that's all in the encounter book, or in the not the encounter book, but the Enigma book. So.
And now we're going to come back after the break and talk about all of the recent stuff over the last couple of weeks that you're very familiar with, and we'll get to that. But before we get to the break, there is the general view out there with everybody. We have. I'm not going to speak for Chuck. But I think that the general consensus is that Chuck is ET on this. That this was extraterrestrial. Again, I'm not speaking for Chuck, but I think he said that enough that we can come to that conclusion.
When we talk about time travel, that's Hollywood term, okay? What I'm talking about is interdimensional travel. That's time travel. That's
sure.
Being able to, yeah. And so I don't know what Chuck actually thinks about that. I'll tell you right now, Chuck is an outstanding officer. I really enjoyed working for him. I got to know him really well. I had to do reports for him 4 years after at Bentwaters. I mean, don't get me wrong on this. It's just I'm going with other witnesses with just slightly different viewpoints, and they get upset. I don't know what to say,
No, Chuck's a nice guy. Chuck's a nice guy. He's got a great smile, man, and I think he's a He's a down to earth. I think he's a great guy.
And besides a great guy, he was a very good officer. I mean, I enjoyed working for him. He was a sergeant's colonel, man. I liked him. You know, I mean, he's the only guy I know would come out and do exercises with us, flight exercises, get on ground, get handcuffed, get beat up. He didn't care. I mean, hey, come on, guys, take it easy. That's the deputy base commander, man. Don't be kneeing him in the kidneys, you know.
Okay, so leaving interdimensional aside, or time travel, whatever we want to call it, is the door open for you for this to have a pure extraterrestrial component to it, or that it is something else altogether?
I'm going with because of the impressions, and also besides some of the work that was done with, I don't know if you're familiar with Jack Sephardi, and some of the things around the Rendlesham craft are identical to the Tic Tac. Okay, the bubble, the able to distort the area around the craft, the low voltage of the fabric of the craft, the skin of the craft, and having the low voltage in that. All this matches with he is presented, and Jack also rubber stamped that he believes that they're not ET. He believes it's time travelers.
There you go. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jim Penniston. What a great conversation. And obviously, we'll be back after this short break, and we're going to go into what has been all of the talk over the last couple of weeks. And it's gotten pretty interesting. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea cleanses chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system, and get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com, and like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jim Penniston. What a great conversation. And, Jim, I just want to thank you right now for not only coming back on the show, but, recalling this. And I don't want to, for you and for everybody else, just recount detail after detail and the minutia and going over this over and over again. That's not what's most important here. What's most important is for you as an individual and your experience to bring this out the best way that you can, because it's your experience, and I like to just have a conversation, and that's what we're doing, and I want to thank you for that. It's just been tremendous for me once again. So
thank you.
Yeah, that being said, Nick Redfern's got a new book out that you're aware of. I don't know if you've read it, but
yes.
You have, but you certainly are aware of the show that we had last week with Nick, and I've got a lot of respect for Nick, and this is my take. My take is with anything when it comes to UFOs, anything, because there's so much out there that we don't understand, that we've got to listen to everybody. We've got to collect everything, throw this stuff in the middle of the table and discuss it, right? And see what we've got. That's what we have to do. We have to have an open mind. We have a closed mind, then we're not going to make any progress going forward. But he has laid out through a lot of diligent research this information, and I have issues with it. But this is the deal. And Nick knows going into this that there is a lot of evidence and data and eyewitness stuff out there about Rendlesham that is going to directly come up and clash with what is in this book, and he knew that. So I have my hat's off to Nick, because you know that it's going to come at you, man. There's no question. And there is a couple of things that we need to discuss. First and foremost, if this is some type of holographic technology that is being projected into the forest, then what was the object that you went up and touched? That doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, I'm 100% certain it wasn't holographic. That is just absurd to me. I mean, Nick's got a theory, okay? Theories, I talked to him about it, and he finally said, well, it's just a theory. I went, okay. The theory, they come, there's lots of them. He based it on some old documents he found, FOIA stuff. You're not going to find nothing from FOIA, I'll tell you that. All the classified stuff is still classified. But anyway, so he has a right to his theory, but that's definitely not. I'll tell you why. First of all, it wasn't just. We don't conduct any kind of exercises like that. That he would refer to around a nuclear base. Okay, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen overseas. Okay, they do it at Creech Air Force Air Station in Nevada and at Nellis. That's where the testing would be done, not overseas.
Yeah, move your microphone back to your mouth.
Yeah,
There
not
you
overseas. It would be around, that's where they wouldn't do it around an active base wartime mission with nuclear weapons. They wouldn't do that. It's just impossible to even consider that fact.
Okay.
Matter of fact, we wouldn't even do exercise. They just wouldn't do them. And we have some peripheral information since this Rendlesham Enigma book came out that shows that the peripheral impact of Rendlesham was felt 900 miles away, 1,100 miles away, 3,000 miles away, because of other units at the Pentagon, at Helicon Air Base in Athens, Greece, the comm center. I mean, there's this. If they would have had to have a holographic, they would have had to orchestrate two major air commands and the Department of Defense and the civilians and 200 witnesses, including civilians. It's impossible. Okay.
Okay. So let's stay on this for a second.
Sure.
So let's say it is, there was some kind of holographic projections. They would have had to have built a model of this craft and placed it in the forest where you were going to walk directly into it in advance, right? If we're assuming all of these things coming into play, is that possible?
No, it's not possible. I mean, one is how they explain the broken branches and all this other stuff, and the heat of the craft, and it's solid. I mean, it wasn't with the impressions in the ground, the radar trackings. The fact that certain bases along the Warsaw Pact and they had a DEFCON change from headquarters Air Force.
Right.
How do they explain that? I mean, for an exercise, no. They don't do that.
You don't think it's possible for a Hollywood special effects movie making staging of a scene situation to have taken place?
No, because the craft moved. I mean, it took off.
Right. Okay. So next, I've got a whole.
He can have all the theories he wants. It's just that this one, and it's sort of deceptive. The book. I'm going to be honest about it. He puts the Rendlesham Forest Incident on the book because it's the most popular incident, right? When I read the book, I don't think 2 pages were about Rendlesham. The rest of 180 pages was about other sources.
Well, he does do one thing that he did do in the book. The first 20 or 30 pages in the book was a recounting of the original investigation with Jenny Randles and so forth back in the beginning, and that for me was a good refresher course. It was like, man, I forgot about that. That's right, I forgot about that. So that's included, but in the second half of the book where he's putting these other individuals into play that were working on these secret programs back then, and the possibility of this happening in Rendlesham forces is what the book is about. And we do have to let our mind go a little bit free to accept that this is a possibility. And then there's the other part, a mild hallucinogenic drug that was misted into the forest. Let's just go straight there. Did you feel high? Did you think that you were hallucinating at any point?
No. Jimmy, I'm sorry. This is so ridiculous. I can't even put my arms around it. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, I have to ask. I have to ask.
I know. It's he says he's a researcher. He's not. Jenny Reynolds is not the research. Okay. I mean, that's not where you want to go with this. Those Dot and Brenda, they had me in their midst when I went, and I just was, because of this in '83 the News of the World article came out, and I said, I'm going to get a hold of these people. I mean, the hell with the damn clearance stuff. I'm going to tell them that what they put in there is a bunch of BS. And when I met with them, I said, I'll openly talk to you about it. And the first question at that time, because it was classified, they asked me, so do you have nuclear weapons here? And I said, this interview's over, goodbye. And I left. And and then when I read, what was that, Sky Crash? When I read that, they compiled people's testimonies from Ingalls' testimony, mine, to into one person. It was horrible. So this stuff I told, Dot Street and Brenda Butler. I told them about it. We're okay with it. They know they didn't do a great job. I mean, but they were the initial whistleblower, so I'll give them that.
And now there is. I'll come back to Nick in a second. As you know, I don't know if you listened to it, but I'm sure you're aware that John Burroughs called into the show the next night, called into Fade to Black, and we ended up talking for about 90 minutes. And one of the things that he said that night, and I think that John has always maintained a position of, I don't know what the hell, went on. I don't know if it's ET, UFOs, or whatever. But he did say that he went back and reviewed his hypnosis and regression sessions. And one of the things that he spoke about in one of the sessions was time travel. Right? And he said that is something that he has to consider and think about today. When you hear John Burroughs say that, what goes through your mind?
Nothing. You got to remember, he was right. He was beside me. I mean, how does he not know? You know what I mean? I can't even fathom that. When we were in Halt's office in the briefing, he talked about triangular craft. He talked about he drew a drawing of it. He talked about the object out there. Confirmed all of this. And then in 2010, we didn't talk for the 13, 14 years, and we never did talk about the incident because we were together. Why would we? And then in 2010, when I met him at a diner halfway in between our houses here in Illinois, he says to me, he says, your contact with this craft, is that what you remember? Or he says, or is that by hypnosis? I says, hypnosis? I said, no, it's what I remember. He said, all I remember is lights. I says, that's changed since the initial contact. And I said, well, you go ahead and brief anything you want. I said, I don't care. I said, I'm going to stick with the facts. And that's what I've done. And I'll continue to do that. Well, I don't know what happened out there outside the bubble that I was in. I don't know what he perceived. I don't know if time was instant, and the 45 minutes that I was inside that area, which is documented because of my watch, electronic watch, and according to CSC, Central Security Control, it matched. Maybe it was all instant for him. I don't know.
Well, what's most important here is that we know that something happened in the forest that night, and John was there, and he is able to recount things up to a certain point. But what is most important is the not only the cover-up, but that this is involving the military, and you and John were there. But there's another aspect to this. When Nick says that there was this mild hallucinogenic mist, if everybody is high, right, if everybody is inhaling this mist, I have to ask you, Jim, is it possible for everybody to hallucinate the same thing, right? I don't know. I don't know if you...
Let's go with, I met with Kit Green 3 years ago, and his research team that he's with, there's 8 doctors and scientists out of Nevada and that they're working with. They work for what's that guy, Bigelow Industries,
right?
And they had determined, they had looked at 50 people that had contact, and I said, well, okay. And they said, well, we're looking at you two because you're the closest. And I said, what about the other people? Well, they're no longer alive. I went, oh, that's reassuring.
Wow.
Yeah. And he says, the phenomena itself, this is according to Green. This is not me talking. According to Green, he says the phenomena will make you see things that you psychologically want to see at a distance. maybe 2,000. If you believe in aliens, you're going to see aliens, okay? But the closer you get, he says, I believe, he says, inside this warping, this time area that you were at, he says, you were not affected by it. It was something with the craft itself. You've seen it for what it was. And he says, that's why you want to do additional testing, you want to do MRIs. He thinks that there's a signature that's left inside our brain from this, and he wanted to do testing at SRI Research Center and all this other stuff, and I said no. And his carrot was he would give me full VA disability if I cooperated. And I went, I don't want nothing to do with that, so I stopped. And so that's that. To go back to hallucinating, that's just not an option. I mean, do you remember being on Mother's Day with your family?
Who, me? Which one? The answer is never, I don't think.
You don't remember that, huh?
Oh, no, you mean just a couple of days ago.
That's right.
Oh, yes, that I remember. I don't remember.
Remember driving to the studio?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I remember. I remember that way. I mean, it's it happened. It's a memory. It's not no. Besides, what he's talking about is not even possible with the Air Force overseas. Okay,
right.
It's just not going to happen. And there's some other things that just discredit it. And I want to talk about the book for a second, because after the book's been published for the last 6 months, we had other peripheral witnesses come forward. And this is a retiree, Air Force retiree, works at Communications Squadron at Helicon Air Base, Athens, Greece in 1980. He was working a night shift at the time of Rendlesham. And I'm going to read a little bit that he wrote, his words, not mine.
Right.
He remembered how the UFO incident close to RAF Woodbridge base and USAF bases in Suffolk, England, on the early morning hours of December 26, 1980, required that all European bloc military bases were going to go alert status, moving from DEFCON 4 to DEFCON 2. So there was a down-channel report to his communications center from JCS, Joint Chiefs of Staff at the Pentagon, initiating a change in DEFCON from 4, normal security, to DEFCON 2, which is cocked pistol, ready for war. And that was initiated at the exact same time as my Helping Hand channel went up. It confirms my Helping Hand report went up. It also confirms that it was down channeled and affected other bases. Can that be done by a hologram?
I would think not.
No,
I would think not.
We have other. His name's he's a retired sergeant too, and he had top secret clearance. That's Mark Cartier, and so I have people like this that what we're going to do is we're going to add those updates into the 300 pages of endnotes that we have in the Rendlesham Enigma book. In the book, I don't want anybody to believe what I say. I want them to go ahead and look at the endnotes, because in those endnotes is the verification by evidence and statements 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in some cases 8 levels deep, backing up what I say. So, there's no doubt about what happened. And my intent with the book is to present all the facts which are in there, how it happened, and for the reader to go ahead and make their own conclusions at the end of the book. Okay, at least they'll have the facts to look at, and not, people trying to make a dime off of the incident and my hardships. Okay, so.
Right, and there is. I wanted to ask you this. I've never had a chance to ask about this. I think it was about a year ago, without naming names. We don't have to go there.
Okay, that sounds better.
Yeah. About a year ago, there were in the mainstream media a couple of stories that came out that this was the Brits playing a practical joke, that they had a bone to pick with the United States Air Force, and they were going to get even with you guys with the UFO prank. Now, I know that you read this and you saw it when it came out. What's your reaction to that? Is that just complete fabrication? Is this part of another cover-up? Is this, what's your reaction to that?
Well, it's not fabrication. I mean, what they're saying is almost true. Okay. As everybody knows, the incident happened on December 26, 1980. All right, the SAS were never involved in testing at Bentwaters and Woodbridge until, and I was working at NCOIC of Security Police Plans and Programs, but in the summer of 82, there was an exercise called JADE. That stands for Joint Anglo-American Defense Exercise, which involved, at our request, a 6-man SAS team, and it took place in June of 1983. Adding that this exercise seems to be the one they used in the story. Also, there was no parachuting that took place, and apparently the exercise was a brainchild, and it is the brainchild of Colonel Highbush, the commander of the security police at the time, and Master Sergeant R.T. Johnson, who was TDY there from RAF Alconbury. Although the SAS team was involved, the exercise also involved the British Territorial Army. And I'm going to tell you what, we did capture them. They did not succeed. They were aggressors, and we put them in this cage, and we did some horrible things to them. Like we messed with their heads, and like this over this cage. One of the things they did, that we threatened, the guys threatened they were going to pee on them and stuff like that, urinate on them. Right. And what they did is take, had warm water and they just poured it, and these guys, God, they were pissed. So let me tell you what. So that part is true. And they could have came back, in December 1983 and done something. I don't know. But it had nothing to do with Rendlesham Forest.
Right.
But that just shows you how the Rendlesham Enigma addresses these issues, and what the truth really is.
Now, what about? Okay, let me ask you this. I know it's late in the evening for you where you are. Can I get you to hang on for one more segment after this break? Another 20 minutes.
Hey, I have no problem at all. I'm just surprised we haven't lost contact with this major storm outside in northern Illinois right now. It's like thunder and lightning. Oh.
Yeah, I know how it gets out there. See, we're here in California where it never rains, right? It's the same thing. Right. It's the same thing every day. So, we know about the first night. We know about the third night. Well documented, lots of witnesses. But now so much has come to light about the second night. And I know that you weren't there for any of it, but what do you make of that? Do you think there were things going down in the middle?
No, there was nothing going down. I don't know what the second night about. I don't know why they say that. I tell you what, my position at the base, because I immediately took the NCOIC of Security Police Plans and Programs a month later. I don't know if they wanted to watch me or what. I wasn't qualified for the job. But anyway, I took that job over. But I was in charge of writing all the defense plans. I knew everything that was going on at that base. Okay? And that didn't happen.
Okay, so nothing on the second night.
No, and then you're going to have Hall agree to that, and anybody else in the know. Colonel Conner will agree to that.
And the one last question. I want to ask you about Kit Green really quick. Kit, it doesn't matter, Jim, who I have on this show when I'm talking about UFOs. I swear, it does not matter. Kit's name comes up in every conversation, right? He seems to be, whatever we're talking about, it doesn't matter what, whether it's, Tic Tacs or Skinwalker or Rendlesham, the Standard Research Institute, remote viewing, the CIA, the Air Force. Kit Green is everywhere all the time. What do you make of that? Because you've been around Kit.
Well, he was a CIA analyst in 1969, along with the rest of the SRI group. I mean, maybe he still works for him. I don't know. All I know is he tried to snow me on my 2-day meeting. We had the Rockford Colloquium. That's a chapter in the Rendlesham Enigma, and along with my attorney was there. I made sure my attorney was there, but this guy, he has an agenda, but it's not. I don't think it's for the truth. I talked a little bit to Jack Safari about it because they all worked together during that 69 time frame, and he has his own opinions about Kit and Hal Putoff and that, and I think it'd be really good for your audience to get Jack on and talk to him.
I would love to talk to Jack.
The guy is brilliant. He's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to talk to Jack. It's just it seems that all of the major events that have caused ripples throughout the media and this community. Kit's name comes up all the time, and it just. I don't know, right? I don't know. I'm trying to connect the dots here, Jim. Let's take. He's
got an agenda, but it's not my agenda. I'll tell you that.
I can assure you, he's listening right now too. Let's take a break. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Jim Penniston, and you knew we were going to do this. We're going to go straight into overtime. I've got a lot more to talk about, and we'll get it all in. Jim Penniston, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. Once again, the Rendlesham Enigma. The links for the book are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I'm a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jim Penniston, going into overtime. So excited. Hey, there's just no way this conversation was ended before the break. And thank you for that, Jim. Now, okay. Now, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's get outside of the box a little bit here.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, which is this. Let's talk black triangles, because back when you did your original sketches and everything that you had witnessed, and which continue through to this day, I've seen black triangles. I got a really cool picture of one that I took. Is this, obviously when you hear these reports and people talking about this, do you think this is what is, going on? And certainly, Belgium and what was happening in Europe around that time too as well. What do you make of all of that?
Well, I tell you, when I did the National Press Club in 2007, I got to spend a week with General de Bauer.
From Belgium.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, great
officer.
Guy. Yeah, great guy.
Brilliant officer. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you know what I mean? It goes back to, you get to look the guy in the eye.
Right.
Oh, yeah. This, they were perplexed, and that is one of the genuine ones I know for sure. Another one, and you can thank James Fox for putting all this together. He did a good job. And the other one is General Jafari, the Iranian officer, and where he actually fired upon a UFO
in Tehran. And,
yes.
And
that one there's backed up by everything from CIA documents to whatever. And I sat across him having breakfast, and General Jafari, I'm looking in the eye, and what he's telling is the truth. I mean, these guys are not lying. They have that look that even Travis Walton, as you said, have that look of
being sincere. Yeah, and also not knowing. I mean, knowing for sure, absolutely, that we're not, we're being visited. We're not alone. I mean, that's it's it's mind blowing. So do you think the black triangles that have been seen, all around the world, across the United States, across Europe, and you saw one fly away in the woods that night in Rendlesham Forest, could this be the same object?
I think they're from the same class of ships and stuff. Yes, I believe that, and I think it's the evidence is actually overwhelming. And there are some stateside ones. You said that you've seen some yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that really fascinate me, and I'm perplexed over them too, are the large ones. The large triangle. We had one of them years ago here in Illinois. I mean, all good witnesses. Police officers and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good ones that just stand out. I mean. So let's put it this way. I think that if you see a black triangular craft, you're probably seeing something that's not from this time and place, okay?
The last couple of years, as things started to heat up, going back to, of course, December of 2017 with the New York Times, and not to kick a dead horse here on that, but it seems that the world right now is talking UFOs for the first time in a very serious manner, and the mass media has been covering it. As you have been watching all of this unfold with your history with this subject, whatever it may be, but do you think that we're moving forward to some type of reveal?
Not intentionally. I think what they're looking for is power and control. I'm talking about the government. Power and control. It's all the technology is power and control. Can you imagine if you had the technology to move through time?
No, I can't. Well,
no?
I mean,
what could you do? What kind of power would that to create another? This is all theory, of course. You create another timeline.
Sure.
Or something like that. You'd be a pretty powerful, and that's why these people are looking at it. And that's the stuff I got from going back to Kit Green at the Rockford Colloquium that we had, the 2-day meeting. What he says, he says, what do you want to look at? The MRIs and find out about the, what's left. What do you want to look in my brain for? I was like, God, and. He says, it's a signature we're looking for. He says, hopefully a way to reverse and find out exactly where and when they came from. That's what he's talking about. So I was like, oh, he says the propulsion originally. That's what he said. I said, propulsion? He says, I said, I don't think so. And he said, well, we really want to look at that signature. And he... everything he was saying actually sort of creeped me out a little bit. Okay, and I'm with my attorney, and I that night we're having after the first meeting, I says to Pat, it was Pat Frisconier, by the way, that was the attorney, and I said, man, this is really creeped me out. I said, we got another day with him? Yeah, that's what it was, another day. And it was very insightful, but, what was his purpose? Personally, I still think he's with the CIA, okay? Because it was pretty creepy stuff he's talking about.
Well, once you're in the corporation, right?
Yeah. Are you going to retire? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think you ever really do. And you mentioned earlier Tic Tac. And look, we've all seen the videos. We've heard all of the what I think is very compelling and excellent testimony from the pilots. I'm not sure that what I see in the videos is anything ET. That's me personally. My opinion doesn't matter. Their testimony is what is compelling here. But you mentioned Tic Tacs. Do you think that these two things could possibly be related, one, and two, that may be what these pilots witnessed?
I believe it is a possibility. Okay, I know that we have drone aircraft out of the Skunk Works by sources I'm not going to name that have characteristics of that Tic Tac, okay? They can actually do it unmanned. And it was a training area at the time, okay? Mm-hmm. All that stuff. I mean, they weren't armed. I mean, all this stuff plays into it. But I tell you what, to be able to make a, 90-degree turn and to be able to go, 20 times the speed of sound, I mean, that sounds way beyond our technology. When I talked to when I read the thoughts from Jack Safari on it, he believes that they're time travelers, and he's got a lot more education than I do, and he's done a lot more research than I have, and I tend to believe what he's saying.
Now, why do you think they? Okay, two questions. One, why do you think they were here, from the future, and I'm totally cool with that. But the second part of this is why you? And I know you've thought about this a lot, but why were they here, and why you? Because Jim, just to be straight out, if they're time traveling, then they know where they're going to. They're going to Rendlesham Forest. They also know who's on the base. They know the incident. They know all of this in advance, which would say that you were the guy.
Jimmy, I was going to stick to nothing but the facts during this interview. Oh, man.
I know, right?
No, you're going to get me into what ifs and what I'm thinking, what if possibilities and how this came about.
Right.
I mean, I got a lot of what ifs, yeah. I mean, but this is not facts. This is just my thoughts, my theories on it. I mean, trying to put the dots together, and they don't always come out right. I mean, but the only thing I could come up with, and I mean, it sounds like a bizarre thought, but they come back and they tweak and adjust things. They know when everything's happening. What happens if 8,000 years from now, one of the surviving things they find 8,000 years from now is a copy of the Rendlesham Enigma book. One copy.
A tape of Fade to Black with Jim Penniston.
Or that,
right.
With all the grid coordinates in it, the exact time at 3 minutes after midnight, the whole works. It's all in there. I mean,
I know.
I don't know. I can do what ifs all day with this, and what they do is just mind screw myself. I do. I just can't handle. I mean, because there's all kinds of possibilities when you start looking at. I mean, during the hypnosis session, if you want to take anything, I take that with a grain of salt too. That I had, they said that there was trouble. They're trying to make things better for themselves, by tweaking different things and that. And I used to look at Rendlesham, I mean, for years until I started doing my own therapy or writing books and stuff like that. I used to look at it as a curse, especially with the nightmares and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've accepted the fact that maybe it wasn't a curse. Maybe it was a gift. It was Christmas time. I mean, come on.
It was a gift. You have to look at it that way, and think about everybody that's on this planet right now, and how many can have this conversation that we're having now. You can count them on one hand. And
Jimmy, who would have handled Rendlesham contact night, landing and takeoff, like me?
Well, check this out. When you and I bumped into each other at the symposium,
that was brief.
And what were the odds, right? And you walk by. We're sitting there with Travis Walton. You remember? We were sitting there with Travis, and you smiled and things. But I can't help, and I think about Burroughs, and going back to Travis, that I don't know how I could have handled these experiences. I just don't know. I don't know. But you're able to come here with such clarity and transparency and discuss it today. We have to thank you for that. But the other part
Jimmy,
of the other,
I don't know how I actually get through this. I really don't know. Every time I do an interview or anytime I do a conference, I just dread it. Tonight I dreaded this because I had to talk about it. But once I get on, you can't shut me up. I mean, I don't understand it. It's like, okay, I said there are going to be triggers. There's going to be this.
Well, and I wanted to ask you really quick. Have you had any interference from other parties? I'm talking about, 3-letter agencies or anything out there, in the background and creeping over the years, or have they left you alone?
No, they haven't left me alone. I tell you what, I have that in the book too. Even to getting the house bugged at Grissom Air Force Base after the incident. I mean, I got all kinds of stuff that's in the book. Also, it's right after writing the encounter book, my encounter with ex-CIA analysts and stuff like that. I mean, they're still there. Anybody can monitor with a iPhone. Anybody can monitor if they had the technology.
It's easy to do. Grissom Air Force Base, everybody, is in Indiana, and huge Air Force Base, by the way. It's not small. Grissom is a big base. How long were you stationed at Grissom?
Oh, I think about a year and a half. That was it. That was my last assignment, close to home. One of the things that really bothers me about Rendlesham with the witnesses, all of them, why is it that I'm the only one that has PTSD from it? Why am I the only one that has such trauma from it? Why hasn't the other ones have it? I'm not wishing bad luck on them, but I'm like, God, how can you not be traumatized by this event?
Adrian Bestenza, he wasn't traumatized. I don't know. I'm asking you.
Adrian's also helped with the book. Of course, it's not Warren's favor either. Let me tell you. But none of those guys were. That night with Halt, according to Monroe Nevels and Halt himself, none of them got out in front of Halt or Nevels. I mean, they were all back at the staging area, which is 100 yards away, or with the group of the 3 or 4 other guys that were about 25, 30 yards behind them. So the only people, according to those guys, Halt and Nevels, is them. They were the only ones out in the farmer's field. So. I don't know what Bestenza's involvement was on it. I question it because why would he be quiet for all these years and let Warren run with his story? And then when I got his writing for adding in the book, he says, no, I met, when I got off work, I seen Warren in the barracks, and I told him all about it. And then the other thing is Warren's roommate. It wasn't Warren's roommate. I tell you, Kabanczak roommate was another guy that worked flight too, and I know that maybe Kabanczak's traumatized. He don't want to talk to anybody about it.
Yeah. I can understand that, though.
I tried to get a hold of him. He don't want to talk either.
No, I can understand that.
He didn't want to talk that night. He was like, no. Is this going? You coming with me? No. He says, I ain't going with you.
Well, all of these guys are watching and listening to everything that is going down around Rendlesham, and I could see why they wouldn't want to be a part of this. Before I let you go. Okay, all of the debunking that has gone on with that bleeping lighthouse. Okay, now let's talk about that for a second. You're laughing. I think it's actually quite funny too. But the lighthouse is there. The bases are there. You guys absolutely, because you mentioned this earlier. You said to John, "Oh, that's the lighthouse." You guys all know the lighthouse. Right? When the debunking part came out, and some of it was pretty convincing, the timing of the Halt tape when they said they were seeing the lights.
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah,
brilliant
okay,
stuff.
all right. It got me there for a few minutes, and we have to listen to everything. But what's your position on all of that? You knew the lighthouse was there, right? Everybody did.
Yeah, I know it was there. And plus, I... not with the military, but I also was parachuted at the parachuting club out at the airport, and I know exactly where it was at. It was. Besides, I got a picture. I should send it to you. I took the last time I was at Rendlesham of the lighthouse from the place that John and I were out there in the middle, past the farmhouses. I took a picture. And it shows whether it's so dim, it's so little, and just once in a while you get a little beep every few seconds. And there's no way anybody with a brain could mix that up. It's impossible. Besides, it's not that bright.
Where do we go from here?
Where do we go?
Yeah, what's the next step?
Okay. Now, the Rendlesham Enigma book is book 1. It is the definitive book. No, there's not another book talking about the incident. No, that's not happening. This book is it. But there's going to be a book 2. And that is mainly my co-author, Gary Osborne. He's been studying the code for 9 years. He's part of the Rendlesham Forest Research Team. And what's emerged from the coordinates found in the code is enough to fill probably 3 volumes. Gary's been working with, I think he was on your show, that, what's his name, Manu Savade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Saves of a day.
Oh, thank you. Very good. Very good. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I know I hate to butcher someone's name.
I do it all the time.
And then Manu, he endorses what Gary has found. The coordinates from the code at Rendlesham provide us answers about Giza and Great Pyramid, and points to an unknown chamber in the Great Pyramid, and it goes on and on. Anyway, Gary's he's the lead writer on the second book, and he's working diligently on it, and it just would have been too much of a book. The Rendlesham Enigma book, 702 pages long, 300 pages of it is notes, endnotes, chapter endnotes, and it's like a 7x10. It looks like a Sears catalog, okay? It's that big and a couple inches thick. So it's not, it's not for a light reader. If you're going to have a light reading, some of the people that have gotten back with me about the book, they've read it on 3, 4, 5, up to 7 times. They find information they didn't discover before. It's like, it's like reading a new book. Each time I read it, they're finding more information because it's so massive. And it's for a researcher, and it's for, if you're not a researcher, you want to just know what happened at Rendlesham, just read the regular chapters. Don't read the endnotes. If you're a researcher, well, you might want to read the endnotes.
The binary book with you and Gary. Do you have any idea when that's going to be published?
No, that's in Gary's hands right now. But I tell you what, the last time I talked to him was recently, and he says, he's about 80% done. But we were rushed. People wanted us to rush to put out like a book mill with these Rendlesham books. Some people put them out every 5 months. The lecture speakers.
Mm-hmm.
The Enigma took me 5 years. That's because I wasn't satisfied with it. I wanted to, make it right. And so did Gary. He wants to do that in book 2. So we're hoping this year. I know one thing with the peripheral witnesses in that we might do an update this year for a second edition to commemorate the 40th anniversary, which is coming up in December, and with all the other endnotes added in and the extra evidence. But I'll tell you what, Jimmy, I don't get upset when people don't. I'll tell you the truth. If I was listening to me speak, and I'm a skeptic, which I was before Rendlesham, I find it hard to believe. Can this really happen? And so with that mindset, I wanted to give as much facts as we could in this book to convince somebody. Don't go by what I'm saying. Make sure that you look at the facts behind it with the end notes and then come to your own conclusions. But I think you can rest assured that what this phenomena that we're seeing is definitely not made by any Air Force or any technology we have, today. That's pretty obvious. Even the technology that I observed in 1980, that can't be replicated today. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Something happened out there in the forest, man. And it's because of you, Jim, and others that are enabling us we've got to get to the bottom of it. We may never do it, but we can't stop. And I want to thank you not only for your service for this country, but for dealing with this for 40 years, Jim. Again, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Jimmy. You're very kind. I really appreciate the opportunity tonight. Okay.
I can't wait till we do it again. And tell Jack to or tell Gary to expect my phone call. I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim. You got it.
All the best to you. Stay free.
Actually, I slipped. Jack and Gary are going to get our phone calls. Thank you so much, Jim. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Yes, you enjoy it too. Thanks a lot, Jimmy.
Thank you. Jim Penniston. Again, the links for the Rendlesham Enigma are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Got to thank Jim Penniston right now, going poll to poll all the way through to overtime. What a great conversation tonight. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night is Fader Night with open lines all night long. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Jim Penniston. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.